Breaking right now, a tornado warning in parts of Georgia.
Southwestern Georgia, right in here, Maria, you're talking about that area of this line of thunderstorms that's got a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, some gusty winds, and the chance of a couple of tornadoes. Let's look in here at close in on this one right now. This is a radar indicated circulation. We don't have confirmation of one on the ground, but the radar is scanning it and seeing some spin, at least at middle and higher altitudes. But for the counties of Decatur, Grady, and Mitchell in southwestern Georgia, if you live in those counties, you might as well take shelter. It could produce a tornado at any given moment without any warning.
And dangerous wind gusts at the very least. This has an uninterrupted moisture source. I mean, the dew points in this part of the country, mid and upper 60s.
I know.
For February.
Yes, it is like a late springtime air mass that's in place, and there's a decent amount of instability now beginning to show up across parts of the region. So some strong thunderstorms regardless of anything else. But if you live in Spence or Camilla, Georgia right now, take shelter. This line of dangerous storms is moving through.
All right, that is something that we're going to watch very carefully over the next couple of hours for obvious reasons, but it's part of this moisture train. I mean, there's a lot of rainfall to come still from the Gulf all the way into the mid-Atlantic today.
And that's through mid-afternoon. You're exactly right, Maria. This area of thunderstorms probably will be able to do what it's doing now throughout the afternoon hours, meaning every once in a while a tornado warning may pop up, severe thunderstorm warning may pop up, but above all else, probably the heavy rain may be one of the biggest concerns, with several inches likely.
All right, you may think that the severe threat goes down once the sun goes down, but obviously big concerns over the flooding. It is that much rainfall still to come here, easily 3 to 5? Easily
3 to 5, maybe more. We'll see if indeed how that line of thunderstorms rich with moisture moves, because it's not moving laterally very much. The storms keep training along the same spot, so watch out for very heavy rain.
And that forecast ends Tuesday morning, but a lot of that coming today.
Exactly right. And you know what? Speaking of the overall pattern that we're dealing with, we have a lot of coverage on Mateo, which is really more like a weather pattern, but that's on the cold side of the storm. The warm side of the storm is remarkable because we not only have those rain and thunderstorms, but it's right now in the 70s in South Carolina. So
we have record warm lows threatened this morning. I was just checking Tallahassee. Theirs is 65. They may dip below that before midnight, but they're sitting in the upper 60s right now.
Florence, South Carolina is 71 right now. Their low has been 69. Their all-time February warmest night, think of it that way, is 66. So they're ahead of that already. Overall, the pattern, the jet stream upper level ridge here, the upper trough here, we're going to see a lot more of this type of weather pattern moving forward through the end of the month. So expect between now and March 1st, at least, oftentimes, more often than not, it being warm here and cold there, and maybe some stormy times in between.
So in the meantime, sort of what you see is what you get, essentially. All right, so where they're right on the edge there is Chicago, so they have a little bit more of that wintry weather to go. Our Justin Michaels is live for us again there this morning. Justin, a little bit of a reprieve in the snow action right now. To see that. Thank you so much, Reynolds. Not happy to see this part of it, too, that transition zone, that freezing rain potential. And it stretches again pretty far, all the way from Oklahoma, really Texas, all the way up into Maine. That deeper shade of purple is where we really think it's most likely to see that accumulating ice, where it's enough of a glaze that we could see some problems on those untreated roadways and those surfaces that freeze first. So there you go, Indianapolis at 29 degrees. We have Mike Seidel there. He's saying that's, yes, over some of those surfaces. There's some ice accumulating, but roadways are likely to be in pretty good shape. Those road crews are working hard to make sure that you can get out and about, but just give them the room, give yourself time. Cleveland right now is on the quiet side, but just because it's quiet on the radar doesn't mean that there's not moisture in the air that can accumulate, so keep that in mind. As you can see during the afternoon and evening, everyone gets a little reprieve before another little... All right, time now for your winter weather update. And ironically, we're talking about some pretty spring-like temperatures associated with our winter system.
That's right. I mean, this thing has got all kinds of weather and all kinds of crazy precipitation types. But look at the highs today, for example. 60s in central Tennessee. 30s, about 100 miles to the northwest. Some kind of front there in place this afternoon, separating winter from spring.
And it's not a dry heat, by the way, incredibly humid. But this is something that we will kind of get used to over the next couple days, maybe in the next few weeks?
I think overall, as we head toward the end of the month, we'll see more and more fronts like this one. Now, next weekend, we're not showing you that sharp temperature contrast, but the idea is still the same, that the temperatures will be relatively mild here in the southeast and still cold, at least average, maybe slightly below in the north.
All right, so that means looking ahead, the pattern is going to be very similar. So what is driving that?
Well, what we see in the upper levels of the atmosphere in the jet stream region, basically a big ridge of high pressure, a bubble of warm air aloft off the southeast U.S. coast and impacting parts of the southeast. That's in place now. It'll be kind of moving and shifting back and forth a little bit as we move through the next couple of weeks. But it's going to be the dominant player, I think, in the weather over much of the eastern half of the country, with it really controlling the temperatures. Meaning, if you're kind of removed from it, and if you're in the northern part of the U.S., like Chicago or Minneapolis, this is a forecast going out pretty much toward the end of the month. You can see that, yeah, you're kind of up and down a little bit, but there's a lot of cold air kind of settling in last part of Feb.
Right, and that's close to average. You're talking, you know, low to mid 30s for Chicago through the period.
On the other side of things, closer to that big dome of high pressure aloft, that big upper level ridge, it is, for example, in Atlanta, you could choose Birmingham, you could choose Tallahassee, you could choose many cities in the southeast. Lots of warm stuff heading toward the end of the month.
And it's really, you know, now a matter of statistics where it's going to get, because of the time of year, harder and harder to get any Arctic air that far south anyway.
That's right. It is very likely to be above average temperature-wise here toward the end of the month, and very likely to be below. And in between, Maria, right in there, we're going to have to watch out for greater than average chances of more precipitation. If you're on the cold side, maybe snow. If you're on the warm side, be thunderstorms.
Hey, feed on that temperature contrast.
Yes,
Dr. Postel, thank you. Paul? Yeah, we can hear it, Paul, absolutely. Sleet has a beat is the clickety-clack. All right, time now to give you a little bit more specific timing for some places dealing with Winter Storm Mateo. We'll start with Buffalo through the morning hours. We're in pretty good shape, but here too, kind of plagued by just that borderline where it may be periods of rain, some of that sleet by evening hours. I guess the idea and the overall theme too is, will there be school tomorrow? Kids, do your homework. A lot of this begins to wrap up as we get into the overnight, or at least get you a nice little break. So the next 12 hours, yes, kind of a messy mix. Temps into the upper 30s most of the day. And then if there's any rain and moisture left over by later on this evening, you will likely see some snowflakes out of it. So today, Buffalo, it is kind of it. Not expecting much in the way of snow accumulation, but yeah, temperatures hovering right about 32 degrees. Not a ton of wind, just enough, about 5 to 15 miles per hour. All right, we head to Burlington, Vermont. Maybe you're hoping to grab the skis and head on and get to the slopes. It's a bit of a mess here too. You see the green and the pink, a signal of the mess of Mateo.